Quantum computers and crypto. Should we panic? Imagine a situation where a technology capable of fundamentally changing the concept of computing power is already developing. And now an obvious question arises. What will happen to cryptocurrencies when quantum computers become truly powerful? Should we already be worried about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other blockchains? I would start with the most important point. There is definitely no reason to panic today. But pretending that the problem does not exist would also be a mistake. This balance is at the heart of the discussion around quantum computing and the security of the crypto industry. Binance emphasizes that quantum computing is a real long term security factor, but it does not represent an immediate threat to cryptocurrencies today. So, what exactly is the quantum threat? Traditional computers work with bits, zeros, and ones. Quantum computers use a fundamentally different approach to computation. They can solve certain classes of problems in a different way and potentially much more efficiently. And this is where the main question for crypto appears. The security of many cryptographic systems is based on mathematical problems that are currently considered practically impossible to break using conventional computing resources. But if a sufficiently powerful quantum machine becomes available one day, some of the cryptographic mechanisms we rely on today may need to be replaced or upgraded. That is why the discussion is not about crypto disappearing tomorrow. It is about preparing the infrastructure in advance for a possible change in technological reality. Why is this not a problem for tomorrow? Here is the most important part. Right now, the main risk is not a sudden attack by a quantum computer on the crypto market. The main risk is being unprepared when the technology actually becomes mature enough. According to Binance Materials, the industry is beginning to prepare in advance precisely because the transition to post quantum security could take a significant amount of time. So the logic is simple. There is no immediate danger, but preparation needs to start early. And that is probably the most reasonable approach. What will change for the crypto industry? When we talk about quantum security, we are not talking only about Bitcoin. This is a much broader infrastructure challenge. Crypto exchanges, wallets, blockchain protocols, smart contracts, cryptographic signatures, asset custody infrastructure. All of these elements need to take into account the potential evolution of computing technology. That is why moving to post quantum security is not a button that can simply be pressed in one day. It will require research, testing, protocol upgrades, and most importantly, time. Why should users pay attention to this topic already? Because the crypto market is always looking ahead. An investor might think, if there is no threat today, why are we even talking about it? But many technological risks become expensive precisely when the market starts reacting to them too late. That is why early preparation is not an admission of weakness for the crypto industry. On the contrary, it is a sign that the industry sees security as a long term challenge. The biggest mistake is panic. It is very easy to create a sensational headline around quantum computers. Quantum computers will destroy Bitcoin. But that statement is far too simplistic. Based on Binance materials, the more accurate message is this: the threat is real in the long term, but there is no immediate threat to crypto assets today. So I would not build the content around fear. I would build it around preparation, because the real question is not when will crypto be hacked? It is this: will the crypto industry be ready to move to a new level of cryptographic protection before it becomes critically necessary? Is crypto ready for the post-quantum era? Within the Binance material, this topic is discussed together with Jimmy Su, Chief Security Officer at Binance. The goal of the discussion is to examine the biggest questions surrounding quantum computing, cryptocurrency security, and what users actually need to understand today. And this is an important point. The focus here is not on sensationalism, but on explanation. Users need to understand the difference between a real long-term threat and an immediate risk. Today, these are two different things. The most interesting part, I would actually suggest looking at quantum computing not only as a threat, it is also a technological test for the entire crypto industry. If the blockchain industry truly wants to become global financial infrastructure for decades to come, it needs to account for technologies that may not yet exist in a mature form today. And this raises a very interesting question. Which projects will be ready to adapt first? Which protocols will be able to implement new security mechanisms faster? Which infrastructure companies will be the best prepared? At this point, we do not have enough evidence to say that any specific project will definitely benefit from this trend. But the broader trend toward early preparation is already becoming an important technological direction. Quantum computers. Is this a reason to sell Bitcoin? My answer is no, but it is a reason to pay closer attention to how crypto security is evolving. Because in crypto, the winners are not the ones who react last, the winners are the ones who start adapting early. And perhaps the most interesting part of this story is not the question, can a quantum computer break crypto? It is another question. Which part of the crypto industry will enter the post-quantum era first? That is what I would really be watching. Final thoughts. Quantum computing is not a reason to panic today, but it is a real long-term challenge for cryptography and security. And the earlier the industry starts preparing, the more time it will have to transition to new security standards. That is why I would focus not on frightening headlines, but on real actions. Research, protocol upgrades, new security standards, and the readiness of major infrastructure players for the post-quantum era. Because the future of crypto depends on more than just the price of Bitcoin. It also depends on how well this industry can prepare for threats that appear long before they become widespread. And the main question for me now is, who will be ready first for a world where quantum computing becomes a reality?